What a great day to have some fun. Welcome to our review of Last Epoch. Just a couple disclaimers before we begin. First of all, we understand that not all games are the same, so we'll be catering the criteria to try and capture the game's strengths as well as its weaknesses. We also won't be drawing any other comparisons from this game to any other games, so these opinions have been formed with a fresh viewpoint. If you're interested in a specific category, or just want to know the overall score of the game, feel free to skip ahead using the chapters in the description below. And remember, if you enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. Let's get started. Last Epoch is an ARPG dungeon crawler with a mildly chaotic setting that will have your character traveling through time to save the world. Let's start by talking about the character control. Since you'll be doing a lot of running around and killing, we thought it would be fitting to talk about the controls of the game. You'll be clicking the left mouse button to move and utilizing QWER as well as the right mouse button for your abilities. On starting the game, we wanted to switch some of our controls around to better fit our playstyle. We found this a little difficult to do as there is no way to change your key bindings. The game also features controller support, but since we had to use the right analog to control the cursor quite often, we opted out. This is the reason that we'll give the character control of Last Epoch a 2 out of 10. Now let's talk about the playability and complexity. This game features multiple different classes, and as you progress through the game, you can spend points on their respective passive skills. Each class also boasts 3 different subclasses, each with their own passive trees as well. While you're busy saving the world, you'll also have to spend points on upgrading up to 5 of your skills, altering their effects to your liking. While this sounds complex, we were able to get the hang of it quite quickly. The UI also does a great job of giving visual cues when certain milestones are met. We're giving the playability and complexity of Last Epoch a 9 out of 10. Now let's talk about the meat and bones, the combat. Depending on your class, you'll find that combat plays out in a few different ways. From the burn of an elementalist to the near-death experiences of a lich, we found it immensely satisfying to dispatch enemies. You can even play this game with up to 3 of your friends, increasing the frequency of carnage. Since there was no option to change the difficulty, we were nervous about whether the game would be too easy or too hard. However, we were pleasantly surprised to see that while the game does start off easy, it ramps up pretty quickly, and with tricky monster mechanics to boot. We should mention that connectivity with multiplayer hasn't always been the most stable. Also, some enemies seem to pop out of thin air, and with no way to pause the game, you'll want to be extra careful. We called this the meat and bones because this is where the game truly has its chance to shine. We gave the combat of Last Epoch a 9 out of 10. UI. With so much action happening on the screen, we felt that it would be important to talk about the menu and UI. Last Epoch does a good job of utilizing corners and edges of the screen to provide the player with just the right amount of information. This means that even if you pick up a lot of quests, they won't appear too cluttered on the screen. Comparing items is extremely quick as well, since the game breaks down all the stat changes for you and displays them in a way that is very easy to read. We're also huge fans of the auto sort and transfer materials button in the inventory menu. Though there are a lot of things to like, we found it was difficult to navigate through the maps, especially given that each map corresponds to its specific timeline. The minimap is helpful, but also gets really hard to see depending on where you are in the world. More on that later. That, paired with the map discovery resetting when you leave the area, is why the UI gets a 5 out of 10 from us. Lastly, we should talk about the ambience. The attention to detail and overall feel of Last Epoch is truly immersive. During our adventure, we found ourselves traveling through all sorts of different environments, each one just as aesthetically pleasing as the last. The music and sounds are also nice, as they provide another level of attraction into the game. Though we like the art direction, we found some areas to be just a bit too dark, even on the brightest setting. As mentioned earlier, this also affects other aspects of the game. At times, the environment also makes it difficult to tell friend from foe. We'll give the ambiance a 6 out of 10. At this time, I'd like to point out some honorable mentions. It wasn't something we were looking for, but the voice acting for this game far exceeded our expectations. The quality of the writing for some of the dialogue also really stood out to us. We're giving it a 5-point boost for that. The game also does a great job of encouraging different builds and strategies by allowing you to easily respec the points that you've spent. We spent numerous hours experimenting and having fun with that. We'll give it another 4-point boost. Totaling up the scores from our categories, as well as the honorable mentions, Last Epoch gets an overall score of 7.1 out of 10. Did you agree with our score? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe with the bell notifications on. Thanks for watching. We'll see you chums in the next one.